You ready? Alright. Look, dog, I'm extra unique. My whole aura screen telling it. Stop playing!
Welcome to Underrated Podcast. Dayon Dunlap, of course, joined with the internationally known Shannon Shorter. My special guest today, 0405 Virginia Associated Press Player of the Year. Went on to go to Boston College, first team All-ACC, two-time second team All-ACC, and also 11 pro career year, four-time champion, four-time MVP. Father, has a master's degree in psychology, author of a children's book series, none other than Tyrese Rice. Thank you for joining us, bro.
Appreciate y'all for having me.
Where I want to start is, you was cut in the 6th grade. Fast forward, 9th grade year.
Yeah.
Coach Randy Cave put the ball in your hands. What did that mean for your confidence, and what did that mean for your career from that 6th grade to a couple years later, 9th grade, varsity starting, and Coach Cave believing in you?
For one, man, shout out to Coach Cave, because Coach Cave was the first person that was outside of my family that like really put all their energy towards me and really believed in who I was, as a player. I had never experienced that before. Obviously, with your family, your mom gonna love you as a hooper.
Yeah.
No matter what. You know what I'm saying? Your grandmother gonna love you as a hooper, no matter what. You can't do nothing wrong in their eyes. And then you got close people to your family that you grown accustomed to, and they know you. But this man is someone that didn't know me. I didn't know him. We had no idea, who each other were. And from the time that he saw me play and then work, and he got to understand it for my mentality, I got to understand it for him. It was like, hey, look, you can do whatever you want as long as you stay disciplined, you work hard, you stay out of trouble. I'll let you do anything you want to do. And just from him telling me that at that age, it's like, what you mean do whatever you want to do? You know what I'm saying? I'm like, what you mean? And he'll look at me like, look, I don't care if you shoot the ball from half court. You can do whatever you want to do on this basketball court as long as you lead right, you discipline, you show, accountability, and then, he gave me a few other things, but that was the first time that somebody had ever just been like, yo, it's yours. Like, here you go, do what you want to do with it.
I always tell people, as far as like being a professional basketball player, the worst player you can be is the player that look over your shoulder when you make a mistake, you miss a shot. So to have that freedom from your coach at a young age, freshman,
freshman,
you feel what I'm saying, to lead a team, varsity team. First of all, being a freshman on varsity is already like one of the accolades that's like underground for like hoopers. You feel what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like to him put the ball in your hand at a young age and believe in you the way he believed you, and then you being on varsity after being cut, like was that your validation that you needed, or you already had the belief in yourself? You didn't need it.
Looking back at it, I can say I needed it. In the moment, I always believed that I had it. Like, I believed that, I was who I was and I could be who I wanted to be on a basketball court, because I knew nobody at this time, this is what I'm thinking, nobody was doing the work that I was doing. As much as I was doing, nobody cared about it like I did. Like, I was outside all day long.
Yeah.
Like, all day. I'm talking wake up, eat something, I'm going outside the hoop. Like, people's parents and stuff, they like, oh, my son, he can't come outside, it's too hot, or, you know what I'm saying, like something. I'm like, too hot? Like, what we talking about right now? Like, we going out here to get active. But, I say that to say, I had an idea of who I could be as a player, but he definitely enhanced that. He definitely pushed me forward. Like, it was like that, I got you. I'm just right here behind you. Don't worry about it. Just kind of somebody just nudging you.
Yeah.
Every time something looked like it may be too tough to overcome, it's like, nah, go ahead, you good. Like, and see what happens. And so knowing that I had that security blanket behind me, that helped me a lot. But to your question, in the 6th grade, I got cut, and it was kind of funny because my middle school coach just like, that's my man, like that's my guy, what I'm saying? Like, I love him. He came to my camp. He came to my camp this year or whatever, but that's my guy. And he apologized to me all the time about that, what I'm saying? And it was cool because I got to go and play rec ball, and I got to play rec hoops with all my mans, with all my homies, and we scrimmaged the middle school team and we beat them. Yeah. And I'm like, you know, so I didn't really care about, you know, getting cut in middle school. I knew it didn't really matter. You know, I'm like, it's 6th grade. I'll come back next year. We'll play. We'll win a chip, and we're going on about our business. So,
you mentioned work. At one point, or who taught you about the hard work and what it takes to achieve what you wanted to achieve on the court?
Oh, that's a good question. I don't know if anybody actually taught it to me. I was very observant as a kid. I always watched. I wouldn't say much. I didn't talk a lot. Like, I was always very quiet, like kind of, you know, off to myself, you know, like just kind of doing my own thing. It wasn't that I was shying away from people, but if I didn't really know you like that, I wasn't going to say much. I grew up in the household. I watched my mom work. She got it in. She stayed active, but she was always present in everything that she was doing. She was always there. If she couldn't be there, my grandparents was always there. And I watched my grandfather. What I began to understand as I got older was his routine and how precise he was in his routine. Like, he was so precise in the routine. I look back at it and I laugh because my routine is similar to what his was. Okay. But it was, you know, he wake up, he eat, he study, he go for a walk, he come back, he eat again, he go for another walk, he come back, study. And I watched this over and over and over, and I watched the people, and I watched how he communicated with the people and how they revered him. And I was like, okay, this is a great man. I know that, you know, it's my grandfather, but these people are looking at his habits and his routines, and he's seeing results come from that. And I think I just kind of watched, you know, so many different people, obviously the athletes and everything, that I got to see. You hear people talk about Mike Jordan and Pippen and Isaiah Thomas, all these guys and their work ethic, and you kind of take heed to that. But I saw that in my home. I saw that, you know, on a day-to-day basis from my people, you know, even though they didn't go on and play, you know, whatever sports and stuff after high school and after college, but they still had things that they wanted to achieve and that they did achieve, and it was all through, you know, the discipline and continuing each day.
Fast forward into your senior year of high school, Associated Player of the Year. Hey, man, first team, all city, all state, all the accolades. But you being the first player for your school, in essence, to win the regional championship. How did that make you feel as a player, and then just your teammates and just that whole bond? Because I know how it is coming up in the inner city. You doing something that people probably said y'all couldn't do. So for you to achieve that, how did that make you feel?
It was so. I don't mean to go, Rachel. We was in the county, and that's what's crazy. We was the first county school that was really like that good. Okay. You know, like that. We was a football school. Okay. We were known for, you know, we had Jason Snelling. I don't know if you know Jason Snelling. He went on to play at UVA. He played 10 years for the Falcons. Yeah. He was the running back my freshman year. So we was a football school. We produced football players. Yeah, talent. Like, we always played well. So what's crazy is, fast forward, we became that hoop school my sophomore year. Like, the middle of my sophomore year, that's when everybody was like, okay, they got something over there. Yeah. We started 3 freshmen as a freshman. My freshman year, we started 3 freshmen. And so by the time the middle of my sophomore year came, we was hooping. Yeah. You know, we started 2 freshmen. We had one other, my bad. But what's crazy is, my senior year we won it. My junior year we lost at the buzzer in the regional. We lost at the buzzer in the district final and the regional final back-to-back weeks. To the same team. To the same team. It was crazy. You know, crazy.
I played them your senior year?
My senior year we watched. My senior year, because my homeboy played with them. Yeah. You know, the year before. He the one that got player of the year my junior year. Okay. He got player of the year in the district and in the state my junior year. That's why I was like, I could have got it back to back if it wasn't for him. Okay. You know, but we had honestly really crazy, you know, careers. He was the number 1 scorer in the state. Tyrese Evans, his name. He was the number 1 all-time leading scorer in the state, and I ended up breaking his record my senior year. So our high school careers was back and forth. Okay. You know, it was always a big thing. Every time we played each other, it was packed. You could not, if you didn't get there during the JV game, you was not getting in there. It was like that every time. They would even move them sometimes.
One of them hood gyms, feet on the court type.
Yeah, everybody standing around, right around the court. You take the ball out, hey, excuse me, y'all. You know, it's like, you know, it was cool. But I say that to say my junior year, we lost it to them in the final, and then my senior year, finally winning it. That was like a big thing, you know, because we knew that it was only a matter of time before we changed the trajectory of what our school was going to be known for, and we knew that we would be able to add basketball to that, you know, that football standard, and that's what we was reaching for.
Then after that, you were being recruited around the time, and I heard you say that the high level schools were telling you that you weren't good enough, but the lower level schools were telling you you were too good, and so. With this being an underrated podcast, during that time, did you feel underrated? And how did you work through those emotions and trusting the work that you put in, who you were, to make the decisions that led you to Boston College?
You heard, that's funny. You heard the Boosie song, What About Me?
Yeah,
that was me before every game. Before every game. You know, like that was me. Like that was like, no, like I hear you talk about this person, but I'm doing what he do, and it's like what's going on? Like what's so different? You know, and then I began to understand more about the game, because you obviously know it ain't just a game.
Right.
You know, when you're young and you're naive and you just so pure to the game, all you thinking is basketball. It's like we not thinking about, you know, the other things that come with the game on the outside. And you know, I just I carried that. You know, I carried that with me. And so when these high major schools would come and they would, you know, be like, oh yeah, we like you, but I was like, okay, you know, all right, you know, like, okay, cool. But then the lower level schools is like, oh, we can't get this guy. Like they would say this to my mom, like, I don't think we're gonna get him. You know what I'm saying? Like they would, you know, and which they wasn't, because I wasn't going, you know what I'm saying? I didn't go to that line. They wasn't, because I'm like, nah, like I can play in the ACC, I can play in the Big East. Like I know for a fact that I can do this. I don't care what y'all saying.
Right.
I know what I can do. I just need an opportunity. And you know, that's how it was for me, even after college as a pro, you know, stepping into these new, you know, spaces of my life now. I just want the opportunity. Let me in the door, and then once I'm in there, then we're gonna see what's going on, you know, then we're gonna figure this out, because, you know, I'm gonna compete no matter what, no matter where, no matter who. You gotta show me. And that's how, you know, that's how my approach was, and that's why, you know, I had, you know, these high levels, the Arizonas and Wake Forest and, you know, these different schools, but then to be like East Tennessee State or, you know, Chat UTC, you know, different schools like that, UAB. I actually almost went there. I actually wanted to go there.
Was Mike Davis the coach then?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good dude.
Yeah, great dude. He was, you know, when he was over here at TSU, I was going up there to work out. That's why I used to work out there when I first came out here, because of him. But yeah, man, I always felt like I was underrated or overlooked, or, you know, whichever one. We're gonna call it underrated, because this is underrated. So we would call it underrated. And that just kind of carried it with me. You know, as a competitor, I just wanted to make sure that I put that chip right here and didn't put it up here in my mind, put it behind me so it can nudge me, and not put it, you know, in my head where I can't see, or I can't actively listen to the good things, or I can't be adaptable to what's going on just because I think, you know, that I'm, you know, on another level. I can think it, but if they don't think it, then it's something that I got to do right there. And, you know, I wanted to always had an ability to meet that in the middle somewhere.
Going on this underrated, I call it a tour you went on in college, right? You had a very successful college career, ACC honors, 47 at UNC, I believe 34 at halftime. That's not happening in college. You feel what I'm saying? That's not happening in college. But graduating from college, I read that you expected to get drafted. And for you not to get drafted, what did that impact? How did that impact you?
That shit crushed me. It crushed me. I didn't mean to cuss. You know, my mom gonna watch this. She gonna be on me. But it crushed me though. Like I remember having, and I don't think I ever even talked about this before. I remember having like all my family and a bunch of friends and stuff like that at the crib. I knew it was a chance that I might not get drafted, but in my mind it's like, come on now, like there's no way. You know, it's, you know, I could go on as to why, but you know, I felt as if it was something that was just gonna happen. And when it didn't, I remember going outside and sitting on my porch. I was just sitting there with the ball in my hands for a minute, just kind of like thinking and shit. I'm like, damn, I really ain't get drafted. Like, that's actually kind of crazy. Like, I felt like that was crazy.
Yeah.
You know, people calling, you know, whatever. Oh, yeah, you all right? You all right? I'm like, I mean, I'm fine. It ain't nothing that I can do, you know, in this moment. It feels crazy, but, you know, I got to do something. I don't know. You know, I went outside, and then it's probably like 10:30, 11 o'clock at night. I'm in front of my crib just shooting free throws. Telling people coming out, leaving. Like, oh, you all right? Yeah, I'm cool. Go ahead. Shoot. And we had a pro-am game like 2 days later. And our pro-am was at John Marshall at the time. John Marshall High School. They actually top 20 high school in the country right now. But their school is in the middle of the hood.
Okay.
Like, it ain't nothing but surrounding, you know, apartments, you know, whatever around it. And we had pro-am game, Ben Wallace, pro-am game. So I go in there, and I remember feeling so crazy walking in that gym, like after the draft, like not getting drafted. Like, I remember feeling like, damn, dog, like, I don't know if I really got it. And go out there, first quarter, I'm out that joint. Like, I never really been nervous in a game before. Like, I never been like my nerves are like good nerves, like all right, come on, let's get it, you know, like type of nerves. It ain't that like, oh, like I'm like tentative nerves. It wasn't that, but that day it was that. And I'm out there, I'm feeling crazy. I'm like, I ain't doing nothing out here. And one of my mans from the sideline, you know, in those environments, people all on the sidelines, like it's turned up in there, man on the mic, he calling everybody out. He go, hey, I know you ain't come out here to act like this. He was like, you way better than that. I don't care what them people said. And I heard him, and I'm like, actually, you're right. I was like, you're right. He that shit really turned me up in that moment. And I probably went, I don't know, I think I ended that jump with somewhere in the 40, 49, some shit like that, but all in like 3 quarters. And from that moment, it was like, you gotta meet them people in the middle. Like I just mentioned before, like it didn't matter what I thought, it mattered what they thought. So somewhere in between is where the real is somewhere. So I began to let's just put the work in, work. It don't matter. It don't matter. If something great happened, cool. It happened, check it off, move it to the side, let's keep moving. And that's good and bad, you know, because you still need to be able to reflect and make sure that you are aware of your experiences and the energies that you used in those moments, and the skills that you had to use in those moments. You still need to be aware of those things. But at that time, it was like, check it off, watch out, let's move. We're going to the next thing. And so it helped me a lot, but it also, you know, it crushed me in the moment.
Staying in that moment, but kind of going back a little bit, you had your first child during your freshman year in college.
Yeah.
Going back to that moment, through all that time from college and the success you had, and your son, right? Being able to see that, and then draft night, that's a different side of emotions, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Kind of talk to us about that and how that, as a father, impacted you. What were your emotions from that aspect of a father? Not from, I mean, that's a different side of it.
Yeah. And that's actually good because he was, you know, obviously he was there, you know, in that moment. But fast forward from that, from having that situation to being able to keep going after that, he was always with me anyway, but he was always there. So going to work out and things like that, he was always running around at my feet. People used to be like, yo, why you just let your son run around the court while you're working out? I'm like, it be defense on the court or no? And they'd be like, yeah. I'm like, well, if I'm worried about a 2 or 3 year old, then like what we talking about right now? You know, like that's how I was, you know. And so I would let him run around. He's like, yeah, but he might run into your feet. I'm like, if he hits my feet, then it's my fault.
Right.
Like that's not his fault. You know what I'm saying? Like that's my fault. I should have got away from him. Create more space then.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like stuff like that. But in that moment that happens, and then from, I could probably say every game of my life at that point that he was ever at, it didn't matter what it was, open gym, pro-am, pro, TBT, whatever the game was, I would just find him and I would look at him and he'd look at me and he would always give me like a little Like, let's go.
Go time.
And that shit kind of just carried me. You know, it carried me from that's crazy. Just from a standpoint of, I knew it was gonna be okay. You know what I mean? So.
Amen. So, you know, fast forward a little bit more to, you know, you had your child, you go undrafted, y'all have y'all moment where you know you're gonna be good. 11 years pro overseas. Not many people have the resume you have overseas. Champion League champion, MVP, Euro Cup champion, MVP, Euro League champion, Final Four MVP, Final Four top scorer. And I was with you, I wasn't with you, but I was in the same country as you when you was in Israel. And I used to always tell you, bro, I used to go to your game, sit at half court, and just lock in, right? And I feel like that's the best way you can learn. But people don't know, like, when you was in Israel, you played for David Black, you was about to leave. This after you a Euro Cup MVP, after you know, you got your accolades, you doing what you're supposed to be doing overseas.
No, this is before that.
Okay, so
that was right before that. But still.
But your name still carried weight. So what adversity did you face in that moment? Because you was literally on the bench, off to the side, like this my last game. So what shifted in that moment for you?
A conversation with my mom. Like you said, I definitely was a foot out. I was getting ready to go back to Bayern Munich. I was in Bayern Munich the year before. Had a lot of success there. They family, like they real family oriented organization, the Pesach family. And they took care of me tremendously. I had my son there, you know, I had my son for a few years in Europe by myself, so I needed a lot of resources to really help me be able to pull that off. And they, you know, they stepped up just like the Harnstein family years before. They stepped up and helped me out a lot. But I get there in Maccabi and I'm thinking, you know, from the beginning, everything's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be all right, it's gonna be cool. But then we get to that point where it was just like, all right, it ran its course. And so I have a conversation with my mom. This is before a game. We was getting ready to play Panathinaikos in a group session. And I'm upstairs, I'm in it's like a little cafe, like a little coffee type spot. That's right upstairs. This is right before shoot around. And I'm talking to my mom, you know, we, you know, discussing, you know, what I might do. I'm telling her what I'm thinking about doing and, you know, whatever. And, you know, my mom always gonna give it to you straight. She gonna, you know, she not gonna say it like, oh, in a wild way, but it's gonna be straight where it's like, it's either this or it's this. And you know, I'm gonna tell you the plus side, I'm gonna tell you, you know, the other side. And what's right is right, what's wrong is wrong. It just is what it is. It don't matter if it's me, you, it don't matter who it is, you know what I'm saying? So she was like, well, have you done everything that you could possibly do to change the situation? And I'm sitting there like, in my mind, I know I'm doing the work, but when you talk about everything, it's not just doing the work. It's the energy that you put out there. It's your attitude when you show up. It's the focus. It's your, you know, working out, but are you really preparing for, you know, what they're going to ask you to do? Are you really open to everything that they ask you to do? Are you really listening to everything so that you can figure out how you can be you within what they're asking you to do? So it's like, once I started to figure out, once I started to think about it that way, but to answer a question, I was like, nah, I don't think I have actually. And that's what kind of prompted me to be like, you know what, I'm gonna stick this out and see what happens. I also didn't want to be a person who was changing teams, you know, in the middle of the year, because then I would feel like I quit on myself and my teammates. You know, we created a bond here, and it's like, you just leave, it's like, man, you know, yeah, you left because it got difficult. And really, that's just, you know, that's what it would have been in my eyes. And from that point, I think I had a decent game, but literally the next day, it was like, it don't matter if we got practice, it don't matter whatever we got. I'm working out before, I'm working out after, I'm watching film at night. I called the video coordinator dude, like, hey, listen, I need you to break down pick and rolls of Sergio Rodriguez, Sergio Yul, Spanoulis, Diamantidis, Yasikevicius. I need at least 10 guys, 30, 40 clips. Just break it down. I want to know why they are the way that they are and why I can't do that. And then also, I want you to break down our games, and so you can show me what am I doing well, what am I messing up. I'm like, everything else from there, I can figure it out. It got so, I was working out so much that Black would take the balls out the gym after practice. So I couldn't stay in that joint and work out. Like that's how much it was, like it got to me. And then I just shifted my whole focus. Like we would come in and bring it in for practice and be like, Maccabi on 3, whatever. They'd be like 1, 2, 3, Maccabi. I'd be like, game time. And then for me, I just treated practice like a game. I was like, look, if I ain't gonna play, y'all are gonna at least be prepared enough that we gonna win. Like, so if you come over here and you in front of me, good luck. You know what I'm saying? Like this is what we doing today. And I'm telling you, I'm on this every day. So if you're not on this today, that's, you might want to go guard somebody else, because, I'm just going to go. There's no other way for me right now. There's no other way for me to prepare. There's no other way for me to really get the reps. There's no other way for me to really practice live some of the things that I've been working on. Yeah. I was like, and that's the only way, me approaching it this way is the only way for me to be prepared for a game if I do get the call. And, things didn't take a turn immediately. Of course they weren't. But gradually over time, it was like, okay, more and more minutes in bigger games, more consistent minutes in bigger games, to a point where it was like all the fourth quarter, but you out there, but it's your ball, like go hoop. And, I always thank my mom, for that conversation and that accountability, because she made me, just look at it a different way.
That's a good word. Being prepared and having your best games in those big moments. In those games overseas, at what point did you feel like your game went to another level and was able to see the game from a professional and be able to play it but understand it while playing it, while being over there? And kind of a two-part question. Is the game over there much different?
The game is definitely different. To answer the second one first, the game is way different. If you can't think it, it's going to be really, really hard for you. And if you don't have real fundamentals, it's going to be very hard for you. The skill and the talent, obviously that's going to vary everywhere that you go and play, but the ones that can really do it are the high IQ guys and the ones that are able to adapt, to their situations. Yeah, right after Maccabi. Right after I went through, because that was the first time in my life that I wasn't like on a team and not playing like that. That was the first time. Like even my freshman year in college, I was still playing somewhere around 18, 22 minutes every night, and I was finishing all the games. So even then, there was not a time where it was like, oh, you played 7 minutes. Like it was never happening like that. And to be a pro, to go from like, playing 7 minutes to a DNP to 28 minutes to another DNP, like that was like something that I had never been through as a player. But I learned so much from the team and from the guys on the team, just about what it really takes to be a pro, what it really takes to win, what it really takes to develop, what it means to really understand what's going on around you in the game too. And not just worry about not that I wasn't like worried about myself in the game, but not to think about yourself in every situation. Like every situation, you got to think, it's 11 other guys. How is it affecting them? And how are you affecting them? And that means something, when it comes down to being in the locker room. But after that year, I began to really figure it out. Like that's when I was like, okay, I know what it takes to prepare. I know what I need to be doing to focus. I know how to utilize my other environments and shape them in a way that I can just be focused on hoops. Like that's another big aspect that people don't really probably overlook. You can't have, crazy things happening socially and then think you're just gonna come out here and perform. It don't go like that. It just doesn't go like that. Everything has its own connection. Everything has its own leash to it. Some may be longer, some may be shorter, but they all connected, some kind of way. And once I began to learn those things, everything just kind of slowed down. Like I never thought basketball was hard, but that was the first time when I was like, this is easy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I never thought it was like a crazy difficult thing to do. But right after that year, and then what happened in that Euro Cup year, that first Euro Cup year in Kimki, we won Euro Cup. We won. We lost to Cheska in the VTB finals. But to be heavy favorites and to go out there and win, how we did, it was like, okay, this is how you do it.
So from Euro Cup, I believe you signed with a very historic basketball, sports, team, town, whatever you want to call it, Barcelona. But people don't know, like, you had your shares of adversity in that situation as well. I don't even want to talk about the adversity. I want to talk about the passion for the game you have to do what you did.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, I feel like that takes real love, real passion, because you could have easily just, all right, I'm out.
Yeah.
But you decided to, I'm going to let you go into,
I stood on what I believed. I stood on what I believed in that moment. And the decision in the moment, I felt was the right one, and I would stand on it again. I would do it again, without a doubt, just because, the accountability has to be seen everywhere. It can't just be from me. It's got to be from, the other side as well. And I was well aware of that. And so, I sat that year, and I had an opportunity. I could have went to Milan. I could have went to Ephes. But at the time, those were the two worst teams in EuroLeague at the time. They were literally 13 and 14, or whatever the two bottom teams is. And for me, I'm a competitor. I don't do well with losing. Like it just don't. I don't do well with it. You know what I'm saying? Like I can't. If we lose, just give me a couple hours. You know what I'm saying? Like and then I'll get back to you. And so I knew that going into a situation like that, it would have been probably worse for me than actually staying there and win. But I also didn't think of it at the time. I didn't think of it like you a game changer. You can go there and change the whole organization. Like I could have went there. Like now when I think about it, I'm like I could have went there and changed. Obviously, Ephes made their changes anyway. It built up. In Milan, they improved as well. But at that time, I wasn't thinking like you can go there and change this whole thing. I was thinking that I feel like I've been wronged, and if I leave, I'm giving them an out instead of staying there. And now we're gonna see the whole totality of what happened. Like now, everybody's story is gonna come out, because I'm not playing and I'm still here. People seeing me all the time. I live in the middle of the city. Like, I come outside my door and there's thousands of people right there, so people know that I'm there. And so I kind of just sat through that situation. I knew that, it was gonna be tough for me, and I knew that people were gonna think certain things about me, but I was okay with that.
You also have Trusted Legacy company that you, multifaceted company that you do with Trusted Legacy. Tell us about that, but also within that, you're huge with giving back. So first part is kind of tell us about Trusted Legacy, but with all your experiences, do you pour that into the youth?
Yeah, so Trusted Legacy is it's a lifestyle. It's a lifestyle brand. It's everything that I want to give, to the youth, to the people that need it, the people that really want it. And I want to be able to educate. I want to be able to help people with their mental health, whether that's from a performance standpoint or whether that's from a standpoint of real services. And also having the skill development aspect. I think that's very big as well. And I use these elements to enhance the things that I do in the community. Because then having these community events, I'm able to show everything that's going on. And maybe people, they resonate with it and they utilize it, or maybe they don't. But the biggest thing for me is I want people to see that it can be done. It's not necessarily, it might not be, the things that I'm doing with Trusted Legacy, the things that are going to come from it, it may not be some great thing that happens for me, but the person that's watching it or the kid that sees it, they may look at an aspect of it or look at it in its totality and be like, oh, I can make this, something huge. And for me, I did my job. If that's the case, I understand that it's not just about me and what I can do with Trust a Legacy. Like it's much bigger, than just me as one person.
Speaking of education, you also have a master's degree in psychology, and where you went back and studied a lot of mentally what our people went through, which I heard you speak about. Talk to me about what made you go back to get your master's degree, why psychology, and in your studies, how do you imply what you've learned in your degree to giving back?
Honestly, what made me go back was just interest. I was always interested in the psychology aspect in the mind, how people think, what are the things that affect them, how are they in different environments, different cultures. People have different ways of life. People make decisions based off of different backgrounds or experiences or whatever the case may be. I always wanted to have an understanding of that, and knowing that I would be working with people, knowing that that every person is different. So being able to have the tools to utilize for, different types of people, whether that's short, tall, black, white, it don't matter, who it is, what language they speak in, it don't matter. None of that matters as long as I know the person. I can kind of, do whatever I need to do to kind of help them. And that kind of spills right off, it does spill right off into the youth.
Yeah.
And it creates, I'm hoping that it creates an aspect where the youth can see their peers as just another person, as just one, and they're able to connect with them based off of the things that they have in common. They like the same shoes, they go to the same school, they have the same teachers. They're able to connect with them off that build out even bigger relationships, because then this one little connection from Trust a Legacy or whatever, you meet at an event or whatever, or you get some education from this space, and now you two begin to do y'all own thing.
Yeah.
And that too turns into 4, that turns into and so on and so forth, and just be able to kind of build this one huge community that starts in one small space.
You played 11 years pro, correct? And I remember I had a conversation with you at a barber birthday party, and I asked you, I say, bro, why you retired? And you told me once my son got to high school, that shifted everything for me. So through that process, was it hard for you to retire, or you already had your mind made up like, once it gets to this point, I feel like I accomplished everything I need to accomplish. I'm satisfied, I'm good with what I've accomplished. Now I can lock in on, because your son was with you a lot of places overseas and etc., but it's different, obviously, being overseas rather than being home in the flesh with him every day.
Yeah, no doubt. Actually, it's kind of flip it. You talked about some of the things that I did and was able to succeed in. From the beginning, I had the idea to play 10 years out the gate. I was like, I'm gonna play 10 years and we're gonna see. And then it began to be, obviously I knew my son. I knew around that time my son was going to graduate high school. I wasn't thinking about his high school time per se in that moment when I was like, I wanted to play 10 years. And then it turned into, the 11 years, because I was like, oh, this is his graduation year, so add one more year to it. But in my mind, it was, in 11 years, if I don't do what I think I can do, then it's time to move on and go do something else, because it wasn't going to always be about me. I had a son young. I was 18 when my son was born. So him going to, I don't want to say he shortened what my player career would have been, but he helped me recognize that, I put in a lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of years, and 11 years as a pro, that's plenty of time to do whatever it is that you're trying to do. And if I do it, great. If I don't do it, that's cool too. I know I put everything I could, everything that I had, into the game. And now it's time to, pour that cup out and get ready to help him. So I always knew that I would stop playing at that time and then just give him the rest of my energy from there and really be able to help him, because high school years are so pivotal and it was so different. COVID ended up happening and all that, so it was a lot of transitions, you know, in that time. But you know, I'm glad that I made a decision that I made. I can still go out and play now at, you know, at 37, you know, years old. Maybe if I keep playing, I ain't playing no more basketball, you know, at 37 years old. You know, who knows what would happen. But, you know, I knew that, you know, I spent enough time in the game. And now it's time for me to give that to, you know, the youth, the future, and whoever else wanted to get to work.
One of the other things that you're putting your energy into is writing children's books. Tell me about that series and what prompted you to want to become a children's author.
I think I had an interesting story. Living in 8 different countries, that's not really common. I mean, we look at it in the basketball community, and it's like, oh, you got to live here, there. But to, I don't want to say normal human beings, the average person, they don't get to live in places like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't get to live in these places like that. And then they don't get to experience some of the things that we were able to experience. And so I wanted to create this series to show the youth that you can have a passion for something, you can have something that you can love, or that you do love, and it can take you to places that you would have never thought that you would have gone to. I had no idea where any of these places were. I didn't know about any. The only reason why I knew other countries was because of the Olympics. That's it. Like, if it wasn't for the Olympics, Olympic basketball, I would have no idea where none of these places were. I wouldn't have any idea how long it took to get there, or what those people were like, or any of those things. And so I wanted to utilize that as a way to give back, you know, to the youth. And instead of just writing it from a basketball standpoint, I wanted to write it, I wanted basketball to be the tool that was used, but I also wanted to connect my emotions and my feelings that I was going through in some of those countries, in those times, some of the things that I was experiencing. And so, I mean, I don't know if you guys ever read, you know, the children's book. It's a children's book, but if a grown person read it, and you would be like, oh, it's 5 different social emotional learning skills that get displayed in each book. It's real storytelling, you know, in each book, and it's based off of what I was, you know, going through, you know, in those times. Not necessarily going through, because some of them were really exciting times, and it's like really exciting things, but it talks about, you know, the relationship skills, self-awareness, social awareness, like all these different things, communicating. And one of the biggest things there is, you know, how to be a friend and how to be of service, you know, to others. And just that ball, or just that basketball, is what created, you know, all of those opportunities.
What would you tell your younger? Well, what would you tell your younger self as far as like where you are now compared to what you envisioned in them younger years?
Patience. You mentioned earlier when you was talking discipline, and I agree with that wholeheartedly. Patience and discipline, and having some kind of plan. I'm not saying that you got to write your plan down and, you know, it's got to be all detailed and, you know, all these things, but you have some kind of goals.
A vision.
A vision, exactly, a vision. And that was something that I was doing and using, and I didn't really know what I was doing. Like, now I can look back at it and be like, oh, I could tell you exactly what I was doing, but I have new experience and new knowledge about, you know, what that really is and what that really looks like, that now I can look back and be able to tell you what I was actually doing. And for my younger self, patience, goals, discipline, but also being okay with the failures that come and the adversity that come with it as well, because it's gonna happen. And I think I handle adversity and failures. We say it's failure, but you always learn something from it. I think I handled those things well when I was young. I didn't let it take me too far down. It may crush me in the moment, but I could get that spark from, you know, somebody like a man in the stands that don't even really know me like that. He just know me as a basketball player. He don't have an idea, you know, who I really am. And that one little spark like that, it's like a little, you know, like a little lighter flicker. Now it's like, oh, come on, bro, we can get back to it. So staying patient, having that plan, being disciplined, and being able to handle the adversities that come with, you know, just life and whatever that you're doing in the moment, you know, it's gonna have that. So being able to be prepared for it.
We definitely appreciate you for joining us. Appreciate your time. But before we let you go, we always ask our guests, is there anyone that you feel that would be good in this space and be good to chop it up with us that you would recommend? Who would that be?
I would say my man's Marquez Haynes.
Okay.
Marquez Haynes,
okay.
man. Irvin, Texas legend.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, I think he would be great on this space. A lot of knowledge, a lot of insight from not just you know, obviously the athletics is one thing, but just from a spiritual and a mental and a mindfulness aspect is so much that he could give, you know, to a space like this. Man, you wouldn't be able to time. You wouldn't be able to. You might have to do a 2-part. You know what I mean? Like, but he gonna bring it, and you know he's living for it, and you know. I'm pretty sure you'll be open to it as well.
Okay.
Especially knowing you guys are understanding you guys' story. He's familiar with you guys. He's familiar. I know he knows you for sure. And he probably know you being from Dallas. You know, you from Dallas, so you never know. You know, y'all probably got some mutual somewhere as well. But yeah, Marquez Haynes.
Hey, bro, I appreciate you. You know, it's love with me.
Appreciate you.
I appreciate the man before
you know
anything else. You know what I'm saying? And I do appreciate you for just jumping down on the pod. I reached out. You said I'm with it.
Yeah.
It go a long way with me, bro.
Yeah, for sure.
Appreciate it, bro.
Appreciate you, man.
Yes,
appreciate
sir.
you. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Another episode, Underrated Podcast. We got Tyrese Rice, Shannon Shorter, Dayon Dunlap. We appreciate y'all tuning in. Subscribe.
Top man!